Today's mini masterclass is how perfectionism is killing your income and what you can do instead. Perfectionist queen at your service here, or I should be saying a recovering perfectionist queen. Well, welcome. Today I really want to talk to this because I'm seeing a lot of women experiencing this. And this, I believe, is a silent killer in many businesses. And it's often dressed up as success, and that is perfectionism. Now, I'm curious if you feel like you have tendencies of perfectionism. Love you to comment in the chat box below perfectionism or perfectionist, perfect, whatever feels perfect for you. Now, I feel that this does not get talked enough about, yet it's all around us. So if you've been saying to yourself, I just need to finish these final edits before it goes live, or I'll launch once it feels clear and ready and everything's in order. Or maybe it's something like, I'm almost ready to speak and go live. I just need to be that little bit more clearer, or I need to be more polished as a speaker. Everything has to be ready before I click the live and start speaking. If you can relate to any of these, then drop a yes below, because the chances are perfectionism is costing you something far more valuable than your time. It's costing you your income. And so if you're stuck in perfectionism, here's the truth. It's not about high standards. I used to say this to myself. I used to say, I've got high standards. But really underneath that, it's the fear, this fear of being judged, this fear of not being good enough. I don't have all the answers. I can't get it perfect. And there's this fear that if you don't get it perfect, you won't be loved, accepted, or safe. And perfectionism often starts in childhood. And some of the ways is that the only way that you feel worthy is when you've achieved something, or you've learned to perform to avoid criticism. Now, if this is starting to resonate for you, I want you just to take a moment right now to breathe, because this is a whole new way of seeing the very thing that's been protecting you. And for a very long time, Miss Perfectionist has served really, really well. But when it comes to growing your leadership, growing your business, Miss Perfectionist can really stand in the way. And in order to shift this, I believe we need to understand it first and see which one we can resonate with. Because there are three types of perfectionism, and you might be relating to one, to a couple, or all. I know for myself that I can relate to all three of them and have traits of all three of them that I've intentionally and continue to unlearn. So the first one is self-orientated perfectionism. This is the expectations you put on yourself. And I know I've masked that as my high standards. The other type of perfectionism is other-orientated. So you expect it of others. So you expect from others to be at a certain level, at a certain standard. And then the third one, socially prescribed. So where you believe that others demand perfection from you. And let me tell you, that last one, that socially prescribed, it is the most damaging, because this not only impacts how you show up, but it can also have an impact on your own self-esteem and self-worth. I want you to know something right now. Perfectionism isn't who you are. It is a protective pattern that you have learnt over time and that you can unlearn. You have learned perfectionism, and perfectionism can be unlearned through a number of repetitive, courageous actions over time. I want you to write that down. Perfectionism can be unlearned through a number of repetitive, courageous actions over time. And one of the scariest things is when you learn to speak your truth, not from a space of fear, but of owning the value that you bring, owning your ideas, knowing and trusting that no matter how it comes out, it'll come out. And you don't just sound more confident, you become it. because you no longer are afraid of that judgment. You no longer believe you have to perform to achieve. So let's talk through some of the things that may be in your way in your business that are perfectionistic tendencies that may be blocking you. But before I tell you that, I want to tell you how I know perfectionism firsthand. One could say I'm pretty perfect at perfectionism. Bad joke. But here's the thing, even the perfectionistic parts of me still believes I have not nailed this totally. Okay, another bad joke. Here's the thing, I am so hyper aware of my perfectionistic tendencies, and I'm so hyper aware of when they come in to protect me. But it was a very long time of my own steps towards this until I became this hyper aware. Because a lot of the times women are not even aware that it's perfectionistic tendencies that are in your way. Now, back in my corporate days, if you have ever been in corporate or have worked anywhere where they do a lot of personality tests, leadership kind of profiling tests and things like that, and they have all these different elements. And one of the elements there of this personality test was perfectionism. Now, they set a circle and then you hit kind of like the layer of how high you rate on a certain level of perfectionism. Now, if they could, I would have gone beyond the boundary of that circle, right? That's how high levels of perfectionism I have. And it wasn't until this very moment that when I was asked to put together a presentation together with some of my other colleagues, and we were advised that we will be presenting these to senior managers and you're going to be rated on your presentation skills and your content. And so I worked so hard to perfect that presentation. I practice and practice and practice it like it was a script to a movie. I knew all the words word for word. And it wasn't till I fully completed my presentation that one of the senior managers, like they were all commenting on how well I performed, how well I did the presentation. I was getting 9 out of 10 scores through all the different areas of my presentation skills, from body language, from articulation, from my slides, from getting my point across, my message, all of that. Bang, bang, bang. And it wasn't until one of the senior managers asked me a question, right, that at that moment I stopped, because I was like, it's not part of my script. What? Like red in the face, didn't know how to answer it, because I became so perfect in polishing the presentation that I couldn't even think and feel for myself, because I was masking my confidence through perfectionism. Masking your confidence through perfectionism. Learning how to fake confidence is another trait of perfectionism. But here's what I realized in my journey of leading my own business is you don't get paid for perfect. You get paid for what you offer, the transformation, your services. Because leadership is action orientated. It is. And the longer you wait to be ready, the more opportunity and income you will leave on the table. All right. So let's take you through, as I said, kind of like 3 most common ways that perfectionism is killing your income right now. And the first one, and a lot of us do this, I've been guilty of it, is we polish in private instead of offering in public. So you're working on your program, you're working on your content, you're working on your planning, you're working on your story. It's all happening in private, but you're not actually out there offering it. You're not letting people know about it, because what you're doing is you're really good at doing and making sure it gets done, but it's all in private. And some of the things that you're saying is, I'm not ready to sell this yet. And I've falsely led myself through this. I'm not ready to sell it yet because my messaging isn't perfect. My landing page isn't all right. I'm not sure about what my content should be. It just doesn't sound like me. And what happens? The result? 0 income, 0 visibility. Now, if you can relate to this, because the first step to creating the shift and change of moving from perfectionistic tendencies that are blocking your business and your income is to first, number one, be aware of it. Number two, accept it, that is what you're doing. That is the action you're doing. You're polishing in private instead of offering in public. I'm going to take you through three, but I want you to write that first one down. Are you polishing in private instead of offering in public? And look at your percentage in doing that. If you're doing too much polishing in private and not enough in public, then it's time to get serious with yourself. Have a serious conversation, because is your polishing bringing the income? I bet you it's not. All right. So the second one is you're reworking your content instead of releasing it. So again, it's like you're polishing it. It's like you keep editing the same post, or you keep editing the video until the spark is gone, right? And you keep saying to yourself, it just doesn't sound right. I don't look right, doesn't sound right. And what ends up happening is the result is you're not building trust with your community, with your audience, because they never hear from you. And guess what? When there is no trust, when there is no audience, there's no one buying, zero income. So I'm wondering, are you number two, where you're constantly reworking your content instead of releasing it? Because here's one thing I know. The more I'm reworking it, tweaking it, refining it, making sure my background's all good and things like that, I'm not releasing it. I'm not putting it out there, right? The more imperfectly, perfectly putting it out there is when you start to realize and start to learn what your audience is responding to. What are they leaning into more? And the only way to do that is to do it, right? Is not to wait for the polish of it to be perfect. So some of the things you're saying is it just doesn't sound right yet. It doesn't look right yet. And so you don't. So the other thing is we delay action until everything feels clear. I'm putting my hand up because I have done that. And you know what happens when we are in doubt? If you've ever heard this term, when you're in doubt, you are out of action. But action takes you out of doubt. And even if it's imperfect action, this line, no matter how much my perfectionistic tendencies has questioned it, been curious, looking at it from all the different angles, it's absolutely true. If you delay action until everything is clear, nothing will get done. You're waiting for perfect clarity. You're waiting for perfect timing. You're waiting for perfect confidence. There is no such thing. There's no such thing as perfect clarity. There's no such thing as perfect timing. There's no such thing as perfect confidence. Perfect timing, clarity, and confidence is when you take the steps and the moves to move through it. If you have learned, if you have gone, once I feel more aligned, I'll go all in. Yeah. Now, I've been guilty of this because there is a lot of talk out there of you want to feel aligned, you want to take aligned action. But here's the thing. If you're constantly waiting for alignment, right? If you're waiting for the alignment to finally drop in, you'll be waiting for a long time, right? The balance and the magic is in still taking those actions. Remember those courageous steps, repetitive over time. You're still taking those. Guess what ends up happening? Alignment starts to happen because you start to go, oh, this feels good. This feels not good. This feels good. Aha, bang. Right? Yes, there are many ways to get into alignment to understand your truth, but one of those ways is to take that imperfect action. Because what happens when you're feeling more aligned, then I'll go in, you stay in this space of limbo. This is the in-between. Now, I have said many times the magic is in the in-between, but the in-between doesn't pay, right? The in-between doesn't pay. I can still sit in the in-between and still take action. I want you to hear this. You can still be in the mess and in the in-between, and you can still take action. The two can coexist. You can still be going through your own transformation, your own next leveling up, but you can still be taking those courageous steps and actions, and it's finding which one feels good and safe for you to do right now based on where you are in your business or what your intentions are, etc. So here we go. I'm going to wrap it up shortly because we're over our time today. But here's how we shift from perfectionism into a more profitable leadership. Because remember, we're talking about how perfectionism is killing your income. So the first thing is launch before you're ready. This is so uncomfortable. When I was told this, launch before you're ready, I was like, no, I can't do this. My whole nervous system went into overwhelm. But you can do this in a way that is good for your nervous system, that feels safe, right? And remember, it's about taking those courageous, imperfect steps at a time. So one of the ways you can do that is pick one offer, pick one message or a call to action and share it today, right? Not when it's perfect, but when it's present. Because remember, people are not paying for your perfection. They're paying for your presence, what you offer, what you bring to the table. So launching before you're ready. Again, it's finding a way that feels good with your nervous system, that feels safe, and it can be something really small, but it's taking that courageous, imperfect step. So here's my challenge for you. Post something imperfect. Post something imperfect today in your presence. Let it be seen without any attachment, no attachment to the outcome. Practice it. Practice it and see what happens. Now, the second thing is to create a good enough standard, right? Decide what good enough looks like for you. Now, and then publish. So it's like, I want you to trust your 70%, your 80%, that it'll still reach the right people. And one of the ways that you create a good enough standard is to set yourself some boundaries around your content creation. So you might turn around and say, you know what? I'm going to allocate 15 minutes to do videos, right? 15 minutes to do some videos and then pick one of those that I'm got my good enough standard and post it, right? The challenge is to pick one and post it imperfectly, right? This is about you trusting that 70%. Trusting that 70% will reach who it needs to be reached, will land how it needs to be land, that it doesn't need to be perfect. Okay. And then the third one is to speak before it's finalized. So get visible with your idea in progress. Teach it, talk about it, test it out, right? These mini masterclasses that I bring, that's what I'm doing. I'm teaching it. I'm talking about it. I'm testing it out. I'm seeing how it feels. I'm seeing how it lands. As a leader in business, building your business, scaling your business, growing your business, getting comfortable with speaking before it's finalized, speaking before it's ready, right? Because this is how you're testing, tweaking, getting comfortable, embodying the message that you're here to say, embodying your brilliance. Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about your presence, what you bring. And practice, go live, record a video, share what you do know, even if it's still evolving. And what I do know is the more you practice it and then continue to refine it, then you become it. That you become the confidence that you have all of that. It's already within you. Well, I hope you enjoyed this mini masterclass. I've given you 3 things that might be blocking in your way. I love to invite you to comment which one below really landed for you. Which one do you feel that you've been quietly doing? Like, have you been number 1, polishing in private instead of offering in public? Maybe you've been reworking your content instead of releasing it. Or maybe you're delaying action until everything feels clear. 1, 2, or 3, which one do you feel that that's been kind of your way of being at this moment? 1, 2, or 3. Or maybe you're doing a combination of all of them. And I've given you 3 ways of how to shift out of that perfectionism and into a more profitable leader and business owner. Because at the end of the day, yes, we are here to create an impact and to really let people hear our message and see our brilliance, but we're also here to create an income. And the more and more we sit into our perfectionistic tendencies, the more and more we are killing our income and leaving money on the table. So the truth is that perfect doesn't pay your bills, ladies. When I'm like, this perfect polished post is not paying my bills, but your presence does. The offers that you bring, the transformation that you're helping people with, that's what pays your bills. And so the more you're trying to get it right, the more you disconnect from what actually makes it work. And that's your magnetism, your voice, your energy, and your willingness to show up real, to show up imperfectly perfect as yourself. So, oh, hello. Sorry, I'm just seeing Lana. Welcome. Aisha, Facebook just showed you. Oh, but at the closing. That's okay. You can watch the replay here. So I love to hear what really landed for you today, and maybe what's one of the action steps that I've given you there as an idea of how you're going to move through the perfectionism that's holding you back. And one thing I want to say is that if you are ready to stop overthinking and start really showing up with more confidence, clarity in action, right, and bold action in your business and your leadership, I'd love to support you. Whether you're ready to speak, to lead, or finally launch that thing that you've been sitting on, I want to invite you to book a speaker roadmap call with me. In this 20-minute session, we'll uncover what's really been holding you back, right? Map out your next visibility move and explore whether her voice or my one-to-one coaching is the best next step for you, right? So, because your message doesn't need to be polished, it just needs to be heard. It needs to be real. It needs to be coming from you. Now, the link to book your speaker roadmap, it's not a mop, but we might mop up your visibility blocks and challenges. It's a roadmap call, is down below. I've got it in the comments. It's pinned there, but I will also share it again. So here's the thing. You can sit in this perfectionism and let it block you and block the income that you are meant to have, or you can start moving and shifting away from it. I've given you a few tips today. Love to hear what you took out from it.